often seen. You're not alone. Heal, connect, gently unfold the secure attachment code.
Welcome to this episode of the Secure Attachment Code podcast. My name is Tracy Malone, and in this episode, I wanted to talk to you about why good habits, healthy habits, are really hard to actually bring into your life. Why is it that we can do things like eat junk, watch TV, scroll on our phones, and it's so easy for us to do it? We do it absolutely automatically. And we know absolutely, and it's been scientifically proven in many ways, that it's really not that good for us. Yet we know that eating whole foods, exercising regularly, meditation, being out in nature is really good for us. But we find those things really hard to do on a regular and consistent basis. That's what I'm here to talk about today. From the day we're born, we're drilled with positive reinforcement and a matching biochemical response in our body. Our basic need from when we are born is to feel safe and to be looked after. When we are born into this world, we are tiny babies. We don't have any language yet. We cannot communicate in any way other than crying or not crying. And so we don't have an ability to speak our needs. So we directly rely on our caregivers in order to meet those needs for us and try to figure out our needs. And as we grow, we see our parents as that place of safety. And what happened back when I was younger in the 70s, and I'm sure many generations afterwards, and there are still people who I know today are doing this, is we positively reinforce with the words good girl, good boy, good child, good daughter, good son, whatever it is. What that good girl does, put your own pronouns in there please for this. I'm using good girl because I'm going to use my own pronouns for this. Pop your own pronouns in for yourself. When we are young, our need to belong means safety and survival. So when we are told good girl, it means I belong. I have done something right. That gives me a feeling of safety and belonging, and it has a chemical response in my body. When I am told bad girl and I am excluded, so I'm sent into timeout, or I'm told I'm naughty and to go away, then that gives me a negative response, and it does not give me the feeling of belonging. So that has a response of a lack of safety, a stress response in my body. My body goes into survival, stress mode, and says, how the heck am I going to survive this? Because they're my caregiver. If my caregiver and my point of safety, the only one that I've got, is not allowing me to belong, then I've got a problem here. And how am I going to survive? I'd like you to think now if you've ever seen clicker training, positive reinforcement training that they use a lot with animals. And I know somebody who has seen it used in another country for weight loss on humans. And it is associating a dopamine response when you give me the behavior that I am looking for. I will reward you with a treat and a food. You've got high value foods and you've got lower value foods. And high value foods have more sugar. And the lower value foods have less sugar, but sometimes still sugar in them. And this is really important for what we're going to talk about later when we get to food. And the clicker comes in because they're eliciting the response in the brain, and they're putting that positive reinforcement. They're giving you the dopamine hit through food. They're associating the clicker with it. So then they can take away the food and they can give you the same dopamine response through the clicker alone. So every time you do something that I want you to do, I give you a positive experience. And when you do something I don't want you to do, I don't give you a positive experience. So I'm now controlling your ability to feel good through my response and my rewards that I give you at the time, which is very similar to what I just talked about in childhood. Good girl, bad girl. It builds the same pathways in our body as food and a clicker does. And as we know from family constellations, our need to belong is stronger than our need to be authentic. It's stronger than our need to look after our own needs, have needs at all, or acknowledge that we have needs at all. That need to belong is stronger than anything else. So we can spend our entire life after childhood chasing the good girl, the good boy, the good human. And we will strive for somebody to say that we've done a good job. If you look at some of the most highly respected people, you look at elite athletes who get that gold medal, they get the ultimate good person, good girl, good boy, good man, good woman. You've worked so hard, you really deserve this. People in high-flying jobs who are entrepreneurs and become millionaires, they are also striving. So really interesting, in the Diary of a CEO podcast, Stephen Bartlett is one person that I do follow around business, because he has seen that business owners and people that succeed, people who are in these really high-powered jobs, what the underlying factor in them isn't that they're super intelligent or super capable or anything like that. It's that they have this deep need to be enough. I don't feel like I'm good enough, and I'm chasing that need. And so we are rewarding people in society by chasing and striving for the need to belong. Am I good enough? And where it gets really complex in attachment theory, if you've come from a home that's unstable, then your attachment style can become disorganised. And what that means is you have a parent who one day says, good girl, well done, that was really nice. And you have the same behaviour the next day and you don't get the good girl. They've moved the goalpost. Maybe they're angry on that day and they yell at you for the same behaviour that you got good girl for. That means your attachment, your need to belong, that deep need of safety in your body is unstable. And that's where disorganised attachment comes from. So I'm hoping now you get this sense of that's one of the pathways of what we strive for in life, what our goals are, what we feel like our purpose is in life. We can always actually take it back to, what was your unmet need as childhood? What was the thing that you didn't get that you had to strive for? Or what was the thing that once you did it, you got positive reinforcement for, of well done, good girl, good boy, and you just kept chasing that consistently? So it's just a really interesting thing to have a little bit of a look into yourself. Go get curious about it and inquire within to see what yours might be. Now, if we go into careers and jobs and we're still searching and striving for that good girl, good boy moment, if we don't get that from somebody around us, say we have a boss that just doesn't acknowledge us, or we don't get that need within us fed, then we go looking for it from somewhere else. Okay? What are the most addictive things that we have available to us in our lifetime? What are the things that we see people get addicted to? The main ones are, when you're an adult, the big destructive ones can be drugs and alcohol, but the most accessible ones to us who are good girls and good boys would be sugar and screens. You know, processed foods and screens, and scrolling on our phone, and those social media things and the games on our phone that we just can't seem to stop. And we do those not because we're hopeless or we're useless or we're bad. We do it because it meets our need for that dopamine response. So we've been wired that dopamine gives us the good feeling, that's good girl, good boy. When we're not getting that in our external environment, we're going to look for that somewhere else. And if we're not getting it from a person, we're going to look to get it from food, and we're going to look to get it from screens. And at the end of this podcast, I'm going to go through how the 4 pillars of secure attachment come into play to support you to actually change habits. And it's going to start from right back at childhood, in those formative years of attachment of 0 to 2 years old, when you were chasing the good girl, good boy, and that dopamine response in your body. Because it's the little child, it's the child within us that is seeking the dopamine response. We have associated that with belonging from the very start of our lives, and we now look to chase that in the world around us. And this is why healing is so incredibly important, because it takes the power away from looking for it externally and giving it to yourself internally. And it's also the reason why we know that sitting on the couch and doing nothing at the end of a work week where we've sat, so if I have a job that's in an office and I sit for 8 hours a day and I don't actually do any exercise, and it comes to the end of the week and all I actually want to do is sit with a tub of ice cream and, I don't know, watch some movies or scroll on my phone, I know that it's not good for my health, but I consistently do it because that's a pathway where I can get a really quick dopamine fix. I get the I'm a good girl and I belong. It doesn't matter what's happening in my external life. I have the biochemical response of dopamine that says, great. Just for a minute, it's me and this ice cream and my phone and I feel good. I don't care how I feel later. I'm getting an instant response to my need for belonging, which comes from dopamine as a child, which comes from good girl, good boy, whatever it is. So let's take a look at food now, because food plays a really big part in this. Dr. Libby Weaver is a nutritionist from New Zealand who taught me that there's no such thing as junk food. There is food and there is junk, but there is no such thing as junk food. It is either food or it is junk, and there is absolutely no in between those two. There's an extra layer that comes with food because when you eat junk, it triggers the microbiome, those bad bugs. In your microbiome, you know you've got good bugs and bad bugs. See how we get this good and bad thing going on in life, and it just keeps going, even inside our bodies. And we know now, scientifically proven, that sugar and heroin both activate the brain's reward system, specifically by increasing the release of that neurotransmitter dopamine. And it's in the key pleasure center of our brain. And we know how addictive heroin is, and we now know that sugar is the same. Whilst it's not at the same percentage and it doesn't have as much destruction, it is the same pathway, which means, in my opinion, it is absolutely addictive. And that sugar changes your gut microbiome. So good bugs and bad bugs, as I spoke about before. When you eat sugar, it feeds the bad bugs. So you eat sugar and the bad bugs go, wow, this is amazing. I'm going to give you a gut-brain response of a massive dopamine hit because I want to survive. I don't give you anything else good. I'm junk. I'm a toxin that goes into your body. So I can't give you glowing skin. I can't give you good bowel movement. I can't give you hydration. But what I can give you is a direct response in my brain that says, oh my God, this feels good. I don't know what happens to you when you eat sugar, but when I used to eat sugar, my whole mouth would tingle. So we have microbiome in our mouth as well as in our gut. My whole mouth would start to tingle like my head was vibrating when I would have sugar. And that's that bodily response of that instant, everything activates through dopamine. And when you eat food, not junk, you don't get a massive neurotransmitter response. When your good bugs are fed, what you get is a gut-brain response of a clear mind, a steady day, and an ability to make adult decisions. And so if you look at the two, junk gives you the massive dopamine response of, oh my God, this is amazing, like heroin. Food gives you, this is cool, let's just go for that walk now. Let's just do that yoga class. Let's just go and hang out in nature. Let's connect with our family. It's absolute, on a biochemical level, it's boredom versus thrilling, because that quick dopamine hit is a biochemical response in our body. And the more junk that you eat, the more you feed the bugs, the bigger they get. So when you go to eat, you don't even need to be hungry. Anytime you're around food or you see something as you're scrolling on your phone or an ad or something that pops up on your TV, if it shows junk, you're like, oh, I could go for some of that, because it's speaking directly to those bugs. And those bad bugs go, I'll give you another dopamine hit. Just have a little bit. It'll be fine. They're working on their own survival, because if you eat food and stop eating junk, they don't survive. And also, if you eat food and don't eat junk, life doesn't feel as thrilling as it used to. It actually feels quite boring and stable and safe. And if we're not used to that from childhood, that's the reason why we chase these things in sugar. And the same thing happens, that same dopamine response, the same pathway is opened when you are on your phone and you get the quick hit of whatever it is you're looking for. So when you think that you're in control of your eating, you're often not correct. Your gut bacteria is influencing your decision more than you could possibly think it is, because of that gut-brain connection that we now know is real and is influencing our decisions around food. You don't need sugar. Your body doesn't actually need sugar. It does need carbohydrates, but not in the form of simple sugars. What it needs is protein, it needs fiber, and it needs those complex carbohydrates. That's what your body needs each meal in order to be healthy. This isn't news. We all know this. We have been told this for generations. It's really very simple. Eat food, protein, fiber, carbohydrates. Meat or a protein alternative, vegetables and fruits, and complex carbohydrates in the form of brown rices, brown foods before they've been overly processed. Sweet potato for women in perimenopausal age, that is our hormone-loving food, is sweet potatoes. That's what our body needs in order to stay healthy. To reduce cortisol, those complex carbohydrates will help you reduce your cortisol and give you a clear mind to focus on your day. And each time you eat sugar, you're denying yourself of this to get the sugar hit, to get that dopamine hit. And your blood sugar rises and then it has to crash. So that's where you're getting those things of sugar spikes until the next hit of sugar. So the reason you keep going for sugar and you're not going for the healthy actual food, sugar is junk, food is food, is because of those common things. So this is where we can tie in childhood attachment style and our choices around food, exercise, healthy habits, etc. You can see why it is we go for that quick dopamine rush, because of the way we were raised in attachment styles around good girl, well done, nice work, excellent, and how that drove our perceived feeling of safety and belonging with our tribe, with our family. And so the question now goes to, if we know that sugar is so bad, then why is it everywhere? Why is it actually everywhere? And now we are asking the right questions. It's not, why do I choose sugar and not food? Why do I choose junk and not food? Why do I choose my phone and not meditation or not nature or not connecting with real people? We can now see why, from attachment styles and that dopamine pathway of needing to belong as a child and needing to feel safe as a child, is driving all these behaviours now. So why is it so hard? This is the next layer. How on earth are we meant to change habits when the environment that we live in is surrounded by these choices? We keep focusing so much on the individual shouldn't be eating those foods, shouldn't be staying on their phones for so long, should be exercising, should be looking after their mental health. But now you can see that the environment that we're surrounded in doesn't actually advocate for us to do that. I went to Spotlight the other day, which in Australia it's like a ginormous haberdashery store. And I still go to the checkout and walk the gauntlet of all those sweets that are at child eye level. All of that junk that is there as you walk through, it is around us everywhere. And it gives people that quick dollar like it gives us the quick fix. So why do people keep making this junk? Why are government regulators allowing so much junk to hit our shelves? That is the question we need to be asking, and that is what we need to be advocating for our children, as well as our mental and emotional health. We need to be looking at what environment we've got here. Why are we allowing children to have an addictive phone and a dopamine hit and all those apps on it? Do they really need those at such a young age? We can't have a go at our kids for being addicted to something that gives an addiction response and a biochemical dopamine hit response in our bodies. And this is the constant battle that we face every day. Because when you bring healthy habits into your life, you don't get a dopamine hit. There is no dopamine hit. There's no automatic biochemical response that can match that dopamine hit. That's why people go out and do running, but they do it obsessively because they're going for that dopamine hit. I don't think it's healthy to chase a dopamine hit through doing things like activity. I think it's more important from a mental health point of view and a secure attachment point of view for us to bring in stability and boring as normal. It doesn't mean you don't do things that give you dopamine hits, but you get them in very different ways. You can open pleasure pathways over here and have longevity and safety and many more things. But it's hard to do because our bodies aren't wired towards it. We get the long-term gain over here. We can see that giving that up back then now has helped us so much here, but it doesn't give us quick and instant biochemical responses, which is why it is so hard. So think about something that's really positive now that is a habit for you. So let's do the one that hopefully everyone in the world does, which is brushing your teeth. Brushing your teeth is a really healthy habit. And brushing your teeth isn't something that we even need to think about as such. It's built into our daily routine. It does not give us a dopamine hit at all. And we only get the reward or consequence of our actions in that annual dental appointment, should we go to them, where they say, okay, you've done a good job, keep going, or this needs to be done here to get your teeth better. But it is a habit that we form. Now, how do we form this habit? We form this habit because somebody else does it for us. Our parents brush our teeth for us up to a certain age. And then they hand us the toothbrush and then we do it while they're watching us. So I know for my son, who has ASD and ADD, that he didn't start doing his own teeth until he was about 6 or 7, like really doing his own teeth, because even though I brought him the electric toothbrush, he would just do the one spot over and over again, and he couldn't quite figure out how to do the whole mouth and all sides of his teeth. So I scaffolded that with him for years. And even now, as a tween, it's still, I need to check up on it. I can't hand it completely over to him. I still need to educate him about why it's so important and looking at those dental appointments to get that other external feedback to keep seeing why it is this is so important. So even at 12 to 13 years of age, we're still building this in. I still need to have to remind teeth brushing to happen twice a day. Otherwise, it actually wouldn't happen. It's not something that's an automatic response yet. So that's 12 to 13 years, and it's still not an automatic response yet. But we beat ourselves up when we can't make a positive change in 30 days. Everyone says it takes 30 days to build a habit. I don't know. I think it might take a bit longer than that if we're being really honest. And so when you're unable to change a healthy habit, or you start something for a while and then you stop, this is why. Because there's no automatic dopamine pathway that's lighting up, that's giving you that feeling of pleasure when it is that you do it. And it's so easy to forget one day, and then you just forget the next day, and then all of a sudden it's a month away and you're like, why did I stop doing that? I didn't even make a conscious choice to stop doing it. And it's because that's how hard it is, how tricky it is to build a healthy habit. It's not an easy thing to do for it to become a habit. So one of the things that you can do, it's like, so great, Tracy, you've told me why it's really hard. What are you going to do for me now? One of the things that you can do is you anchor a new habit into an existing habit. So when I'm looking with clients or myself at there's something that I really want to do every day, it's like, what am I already doing that I can tag that onto? If there's a healing sentence or an inner child reminder or a family constellations healing sentence or something to do every day, I have clients write it on a piece of paper and stick it to their mirror, and every time they brush their teeth, they associate the habit that's already there with tagging something else onto it. And that is the way that has been proven to really help people anchor in new habits. There's a point when working with every client one-on-one where I help them anchor joy into their day. So there's that thing that they do that is so joyous each day, and now it's so much of a habit that they forget they do it for joy, that we have to remind them that they do it for joy. Like that first sip of your cup of coffee a day, or that beautiful breakfast that you make for yourself. You know, for me, the first sip of tea that I take every day is a God and me moment. And often I'll do it sitting outside, staring at nature. And I do my breakfast with nature each day as well. So I'm anchoring in these habits, and now I'm consciously bringing joy into them as well, going, yeah, this is what it's all about. This is what living is about. And what that does when I anchor joy in it with as well is it helps to expand joy and build those pathways towards serotonin and dopamine. So how does this relate to the 4 pillars of secure attachment? I am so glad you asked. The way that the work that I do really supports you to form new habits over time is in the pillar of the inner parts and inner child. We go back to those formative years and we support the inner child by meeting those needs of belonging, of being good enough exactly as you are, that you do not have to perform or do a single thing in order to belong and to be loved. You are loved because you exist. And when we work on that, that need to chase that externally goes, and we can start building the blocks inside of us for safety and belonging and not looking for it outside of us. And this allows you to have a clear enough brain with the voices in your head, the inner child soothed and settled down, to be able to attach your new habit to something that you're already doing. A new thing that you want to bring in as a habit to something that you're already doing. So it helps quieten those voices, and it gives you tools that in the moment to quieten the voice when the inner child says, why would you do that? That's a stupid idea. You can say, oh, welcome. Let's try it anyway and see. I don't know, it can't hurt. And we talk to that child and we soothe that child and we help that child belong. What we don't do is exclude that child and say, you're not welcome here. You're not having positive thoughts. You can go away somewhere else. That's for another day. This is why inner child and parts therapy is really important. The family constellations pillar. This is the foundation of belonging. The first and most important of the orders of love in family constellations is belonging and our need to belong. So what family constellation does is it brings that feeling of belonging to yourself through the wider system. So if there's any ancestors that have been excluded for any number of reasons, their exclusion can feed through to you, and you can carry that in your subconscious body. in your subconscious. And so family constellations works to find, heal, and allow all those ancestors to belong so that you don't have to keep repeating their pattern of not belonging on top of your childhood, good girl, good boy, now I belong. So there's these layers and complexities to that feeling of belonging, and family constellations really supports one of them. And in the pillar of the body, we look at polyvagal resets and vagus nerve toning exercises, and that gives the body a new path to safety. Your body's ability to climb out of stress and go into safety, which is where you want to build your habits. You don't want to build stress habits, because those quick dopamine responses, bad, etc., they actually put you into stress mode or dorsal vagal freeze, fawn, dissociate. If we want to go back up to the green light of ventral vagal safety, our ability to climb up to ventral vagal safety, we upregulate to safety, is on the tone of our vagus nerve. So we can do all the inner child work and all the family constellations work, but if our vagus nerve has no tone, we're going to find ourselves slipping and down regulating into stress and into dorsal vagal really quickly. And we're going to wonder why, and we're going to think it's our fault and that we haven't done the work, when the truth is we need the 4 pillars to be working together, because every part of us matters. We are not one-dimensional beings. The pillar of energetics helps to clear some of the conscious energies that attach to us and keep us in that negative spiral of you're not good enough, you don't need to do this, don't feel that, don't do that, don't. There is an element of that is inner child, and there is an element of that is energetic. And the energetics pillar helps to clear all those conscious energies that are keeping you stuck and unable to complete that cycle within you. And when you're able to support yourself in that way through the 4 pillars, then it becomes much easier for you to tag a new habit onto an existing habit. And what will happen then is if you forget about it for a couple of days, you don't think, oh, I'm hopeless, I just can't do this. What you think is, oh, I forgot about that, I'm going to pick that up again today. And you start again. It doesn't become that big drama. Secure attachment feels almost boring in the body because you don't have those big spikes of triggers and huge dopamine hits. What you have is that beautiful, stable moment where there's an adult in the room and everything's okay. So you didn't do it, so you'll do it now. Today's a great day to start. So if you want to know more about this, if you really like to start building habits in your day and you want to start learning about secure attachment, you might like to go to my website and watch the Secure Attachment Code. It is a free masterclass where I go into depth with all of those 4 pillars, and I also give an exercise for each of those pillars. So you can go to my website, it's up there at the top. It's free, it's instant access, it's something that has been pre-recorded and you can watch it right now. So thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Secure Attachment Code. I look forward to seeing you next week.